Well, one of the other things I wanted to touch on, unfortunately we've had this visit almost every time you've been on since February. Hopefully this will all come to an end very soon. I was told by a high school league official that they were waiting to see what the schools did before they imposed any sort of discipline on the schools involved in the dance line state controversy. The 5 other teams that were involved during the high kick competition that the Emeralds were state champions in.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, the comments I've received from folks who have been supportive through this whole process were, wow, what an athletic group of girls. Wow, what a great routine, and what an incredible group of kids that you guys have down there. And so those are the positive pieces of it. But you're right, there has been, all the discipline has been taken by all the schools. Eden Prairie's dance coaches decided that they didn't want to come back next year, so they've actually resigned. The other 4 of the schools had a 2-meet suspension for the coaches, and then one of the schools had letters of reprimand. I think they all had letters of reprimand in their files too, and then one athletic director too.
Could you clarify, what is a letter of reprimand?
It's a step towards, if there happens to be another discipline action, then that allows the administration to reflect back. You've already got 1 letter in your file, now the next step would be suspension or something worse. So it's more of a building case of files for coaches if they are not performing well.
I know you don't know the specifics of the teacher contracts of these schools involved, but they couldn't impose a fine, for example?
Probably not. I don't think they could with that. I suppose you could withhold coaching pay, but it's really hard even with the federal laws or the state laws with regard to paying people out. You've got to pay the people for what they work for. So fines at our level, it's just not that common.
Okay.
Yep. Tom Brady might get fined, but I don't know if those coaches will get fined.
Yeah, for Deflategate.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting that comes out? 243-page report, isn't that what it was?
Yeah, amazing, and still nobody knows how they got out.
Proper air in football. Yeah. 243 pages.
Yeah, amazing, yeah. All the time that they spend on that whole thing, and it's, yeah.
And I will say, all of the districts involved, I might have this wrong, maybe it was 4 of the 5, hired a law firm to do an investigation on this.
Yeah, you know, that's out there too. I know that one of the schools paid for the law firm. I don't know all the details,
sure,
if they went together or not, but I know it was about $12,000 that they paid to have the law firm do the investigation. Now, there was one meeting that occurred this past week that I was involved in, and there'll be another meeting in June with the Minnesota State High School League, and they'll come out with their ruling too. I was at the Big 9 conference meeting, and in show of support of Faribault dance team, there's a consensus by all the Big 9 schools, which is terrific to hear, to show their support in the state championship of our dancers at that state meet, and to show their support how well we did, and to say that what we did was right and what they did was wrong. And to have that support from all the Big 9 schools says a lot to our area, and to feel that support, it's almost like family when you go to those conference meetings, to know that you've got all that support from all the superintendents and all the principals and athletic directors in that arena saying that what Faribault Public Schools did was a great accomplishment and what those other 4 schools did was wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure you've read, I don't know, maybe you don't have time to read some of the comments that people have been making about all this. It really was on fire in social media for a good month after it happened.
It is, and it's amazing, the YouTube that was sent out from KDHL. I got almost 50 emails or text messages complimenting the job that KDHL did with the interview, and just the whole part of the program. So, and we were all up front. Nothing was hidden. It was all the truth. It's exactly what happened up at the state tournament. I was there, and Ken Hubert was there, and it's one thing that I will never forget. It's something that never happened, and I hope never happens again. Yeah. And I've been involved in athletics like you for most of my entire life, and just something I've never experienced.
Todd Sesker is the superintendent of the Faribault Public Schools. Last week, Chaska and Eastfield Apple Valley districts announced what discipline that they had decided to impose on their coaches. So that, as I mentioned earlier, brings to all 5 schools that have determined their disciplinary measures. And I already told you about the high school league, what they told me they were going to do, probably at their next meeting in June.
Correct.
They'll decide what their disciplinary measures will be, if any.
And that's right. Yep. So we'll know more after June.
So, to summarize, Wyzetta's head coach received a letter of reprimand, was suspended for the first 2 dance competitions next year. Todd touched on this. Eden Prairie's entire dance team coaching staff elected to step down for reasons not related to the protest, they said. Lakeville South issued written reprimands to their head coach, all 5 assistant coaches, and the activities director. Chaska and Eastview also reprimanded their head coaches and suspended them for 2 contests next year. Just wanted to get specifics as to what each district did. And I just wanted to get your take on that, Todd. If you were sitting in their shoes, what do you think you would have done?
Right. Well, first of all, I did hire a law firm to do the investigation, which I applaud them doing. The second thing, I do applaud each of the school districts recognizing that what happened at the state tournament wasn't right. I recognize free speech just like all of us do, but at the point or at the detriment of using kids as pawns, I don't agree with that. I don't think anybody does, and I just don't think that they really thought through this whole process of what's going to happen. So I applaud the districts. They're great school districts. They're wonderful administrators at those districts, and they recognize that what happened at that state tournament was not the right way to approach this whole deal. My own opinion, I think they could have been stronger with it. That's my own opinion, but again, what's done is done. I would have liked to have seen different action. As I said publicly when I talked to my school board chair, if that had happened in Faribault, then those coaches wouldn't be around. So, you know, it is what it is. I take what I can from it, recognizing that the admission of guilt is there. I hope the parents understand that of those schools, and the kids understand that of those schools, that it wasn't the right thing to do, and we can move on from here. You know, the worst thing that could happen, I guess, in these penalties is to hurt the kids that may have not had anything to do with this whole process. So when the State High School League comes with their ruling, I hope they don't penalize kids by any sort of suspension of play or anything like that. I hope it's strictly with the coaches or with whomever else is involved.
Well, the argument could be made, Todd, that you're hurting the kids by taking their coach away for a couple of meets.
You could, but at least you're not taking away the ability for them to participate. So that's the hard part that people are having a tough time with. Do you penalize kids for this action, or do you penalize just the coaches? And I believe you just penalize the coaches.
Well, and there's some parental involvement in this, as I understand, too, because they were part of the protest.
They were, and you know, that's a hard one to get a handle on, too, because you get that whole scenario from the start, when it started, where there was no applause for the Faribault and all applause for the other ones, and standing ovations for the other ones, and then the circle that they did, and then the locker room issues that happened, and then even the waiting room. It was just like a snowball effect. And I think just as soon as people got involved, they got caught in the emotion, and they wanted to be part of that whole piece. Now, I'm not making excuses for what happened, but that's the reality of what does happen when you have a mob type of thing that occurs, which is unfortunate.
If you could take us back to that day, because you said you and Ken were there watching the competition. Did you recognize right away what was going on, or were you befuddled by what was happening?
I was befuddled, and ironically, there was a Wayzata gal in front of me who used to be a dancer that was watching it, and she turned around, because we had talked, and we had, I was from Faribault, obviously, told I was a superintendent, and she was a former dancer, and my daughter's a dancer, and we talked and had a conversation, and my wife was sitting next to me, and then she, the Wayzata gal, turned around and looked at me, kind of in, what's going on? And I said, I have no idea. And then, of course, my wife and I went back and said, what's going on here? I had said last week, ironically, that, you know, I hope nothing happens at the state tournament as a result of this protest by one of this individual that had started this whole thing. And so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I hope this really isn't happening. I hope this really isn't happening. And then as we, you know, when Faribault came out, because they came out right away, nobody stood up, but that's normal. You know, you cheer for your own team. But then as we watched, they kept on standing up for the next team and the next team and the next team, and then pretty soon we started to click and started to figure things out. And then when they lined up and then they moved across the center of the gym, then we knew that something was up. So
the frustrating part about all this is everybody knew beforehand that they had been cleared of any wrongdoing.
Yeah, you know, I kind of take pride in knowing ahead of time things, or anticipating what's going to happen. I didn't have a clue. I really didn't. I didn't know what was going on until this all occurred. And Ken, same way. And usually you get wind from the activities directors that they're talking all the time.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't have a clue.
Well, it's sad, and like you said, I hope it never happens again, because I think you put it perfectly. Using kids as pawns is just not right.
It's not. You know, and we've used this example to talk to our students about this is sportsmanship. You have to look at it and take a look at it. You don't want to be in that light. You want to be on the light of what is good sportsmanship. That's a perfect example of poor sportsmanship. And if we can use that to teach kids to be better sports in the future, then great. Let's use it as a learning lesson. And make sure that this doesn't happen again, and make sure that our kids, all of our kids in our community, go out and are good sports regardless of the competition.
And you know what else I suggested, and I didn't think about this until we were broadcasting a boys' state basketball tournament. All the champion dance line teams ought to perform at halftime of some of those state championship games, boys and girls basketball. It would give them more exposure to the public watching and listening all over the state.
It is, and I think it's a great idea. The halftime shows of those different schools that participate, they may not even know what dance is, and it doesn't even have to be the same team, but once you see them perform, it's pretty amazing what those girls do.
Oh, I think I told you when Lowell Noblin was the activities director here, and they were talking about making dance line a sport, and Lowell was one of the champions of that. He wanted that. He said, and I kind of chuckled to Lowell, and he goes, "Okay, Gordy." And I was a much younger man then, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I went into one of their practices, did the high leg kicks, the whole thing. Man, oh man, it's a workout.
Oh gosh, yeah. And my daughter comes home, she said, "Oh, we did 100 sit-ups today, and we're doing push-ups, and we're doing the kicks, like you said." And they work a lot of hours too. That's the other thing that people don't understand. Sometimes 3 hours a night.
You almost have to be so much in unison that they are in their steps. It's amazing.
They do, and they love it. I mean, I've talked, for the most part, the kids really enjoy the camaraderie and being able to work together and work hard.
Yeah. Well, I'll be curious to see what the high school league does. Do you have any thoughts on that, whether they...
I don't. I know that Kevin Merkel, who used to be at Northfield, and
right.
Of course we have Tom Groutman, who's part of the activities director meeting in the Big Nine, so he kind of heard what we had to say too. They're very strong supporters of sportsmanship, and they want to make sure that we do it right. And I'm saying now I have all the confidence in the world that State High School is going to make the right decision, but we'll see.
Yeah, they'll do something, I think. I have that. I have that feeling. At least a high school league official, when I talked to them, thought that something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what decision they make. But at the competition in Class 3A, the other teams that were supposed to receive trophies did not receive trophies.
They did, and I have mixed emotions about that too, because again, you're taking kids, and the trophies. I'm okay not giving them the trophies, quite honestly,
right?
Because it's part of their team. But the kids' individual medals, I have mixed emotions about that. The kids who got second and third, again, if they didn't have a choice in the participation, maybe they should have gotten the second and third place medals. But again, I'm struggling with that. At the same time, I'm having a hard time with the whole taking away some of the performance of those individual kids who performed at the state meet and really didn't have a choice in this protest, and they were kind of put in the middle of it, used as just like our kids are used as pawns.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Todd. Appreciate your candor, and again, next time we meet, well, I guess we got maybe another meeting later this month before we get to the high school league meeting, which is next month.
I think we do. Just back in the school thing, everything's going great at the Faribault Public Schools. It's great to be a Falcon. Falcon Fridays today, I got my green on, and so we're enjoying it.
I like that slogan. It's great to be a Falcon.
You bet.
All right. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota. You're in tune to KDHL AM in Faribault, Minnesota. Have a great weekend, everybody.
News. I'm Doug Limerick. As expected, Attorney General Loretta Lynch has
Thanks,
announced
Gordy.
the civil rights investigations of
Sorry,
Baltimore Police
I didn't-
Department.
This investigation will begin immediately and will focus on allegations
Yeah,
that
feel on
Baltimore
here.
Police
It's a
Department
hot
officers
topic.
use
Still,
excessive force,
even when I
including deadly
posted those,
force,
I
conduct
found that
unlawful
I knew I did a
searches,
blog on
seizures,
the
and
punishments,
arrests,
and that's
and
where I read
engage
that
in
from, was my
discriminatory
blog
policy.
on
Yep.
the punishment.
Attorney General says
They
the
had,
objective
went to the
for
Big Nine
relations between
meeting with the
communities.
principals, ADs, and the
Late word,
superintendents.
the Pentagon
It was
raising
still
its security alert
probably
level at all
an hour
U.S.
and a
military
half
bases
discussion
due to
on this
threats
too.
from ISIS.
So And we're the only team.
American military personnel.
But they're all affected in
But
it.
if air dance lines get there, they'd be affected.
All right, thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it.
Atlanta Airport as DeKalb Peachtree Airport with private airplanes. Barely 4 people killed in that crash a short time ago. Stock market surging after hearing the latest unemployment report. 223,000 jobs added in April. Actual jobless rate dropping to 5.4%, lowest in 7 years. Market strategist J.J. Kinahan elated.
It's tough not to say the trend is your friend on this one. Not only did we create jobs, most importantly, if you look at the top 3 areas we did it in, business services, healthcare, and construction, you're creating careers there. Those are well-paying jobs, good benefits.
The Dow way up. Storm chasers can expect a busy weekend. Tornado Alley.
Beginning today, the bullseye is going to be across southwest Oklahoma. Saturday, tomorrow, we're looking at the threat for seeing a major tornado outbreak, potentially with large, long track